Welcome, everybody. Today is May 3rd. We're meeting for our quarterly WMNR commission meeting. It is 7:05 p.m. I'd like to make a motion to call the meeting to order. Who would like to second that motion?
Do we need a second?
Actually, I think you can just call it to order.
I think we can just go.
Great. Great to see you all again in a couple months. Nice to see the warm weather. Everybody okay tonight?
Good.
Yes, good.
Can see okay? Can hear okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Terrific. Nice to see you, Patty.
Same here.
Kurt, if you're ready, we'll go directly into the approval of the minutes for the March 1st, 2022 meeting. Does everybody have a copy of that?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. I went through it a while ago, but I didn't see anything.
No concerns?
Nothing jumped out. There's some unanswered questions, but other than that, I mean, it's all the things we discussed.
Right.
I agree. I think Rose transcribed it accurately. There are issues to address, but that has nothing to do with the recording of the minutes, the recording of the meeting through great minutes.
She is wonderful.
Yeah, this is a little, and it's easy to read in this format too. It's a little bit larger for us older folks. It makes it easier to read. So
Well, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Thank you.
yeah, and I'll second. I didn't see anything.
Motion made by Patty, second by Fred. Minutes approved.
They have to have an official vote now.
Oh,
All in favor?
Aye.
Brad, are you approving the minutes?
oh yeah, I'm sorry. I said aye.
Thank you.
I approve.
And Brian, you're approving them?
Yes, I'm approving them.
I didn't see your hand raised, so I'm just making
It was there. But thank you. As I may have mentioned, I've been running all over the place today, so I'm not quite as organized as usual. But that's okay. We're going to have a good meeting anyway. So we're already moving on to the general manager's report. Section A, you have April on-air fundraising drive report. So I take that, Kurt?
Rose, do you want to do it or should I?
She has her mic off. So.
You're muted,
Okay,
Rose.
I'm here.
Ready?
We had a 3-day fundraising drive in April instead of 4. It was successful. We had a goal of $57,000. We raised $50,918. We didn't quite come to our goal of new members that we were looking for. But overall, it was a successful drive, especially taking into consideration the way the economy is today. And we had a meeting on this today, and my thoughts on it were, I think we have a younger crowd listening. I just don't think the younger crowd is giving us the dollars. So I think that's where we have a hard time getting new members. I was outside last week and there was a young kid next door and I was talking to him and he loves WMNR, loves the station. That's all he listens to, but he's not giving us any money. So I think that's our problem. And how do we get past that? I don't know, but it was successful.
That's great. I noticed the younger set seems to actually chip in to all different types of causes in very small amounts, $5 here, $10 there. But for them, it's all about click convenience. You know what, they have to be in the spirit and have a button that they can push where the money will flow very quickly and easily. I see them chipping into GoFundMe's and chipping into young talents and different types of streaming broadcasts and whatnot. I wonder almost if we could find a young person as a volunteer that might be able to come in and help educate us on that front, you know.
That's something to think about. I see my kids all with the Venmo this and Venmo
Yeah,
that. And I'm like, I don't want to hear it. I don't even want to know about it.
Yeah, Venmo's super easy. Once you get used to it, it's just a different type of thinking, you know.
Right.
The kids like to just even be able to split a check in a restaurant with Venmo.
Yes. But that's a good idea, is to bring a young kid in here and pick their brain a little bit.
Or even maybe somebody from Bill McDonough's computer class over at the high school. Maybe that could be in order for them to get some volunteer hours in. Something to think about.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that.
Okay, moving on to section B, the proposed fiscal year 2023 budget. Kurt?
So I sent out the budget last week with the agenda.
Right.
And I included my usual cover page, which sort of explains it all. The one thing I'll say, just as a bigger picture item, is, you know, WMNR is a nonprofit business, and it depends largely on donations. We have the grant that amounts to maybe 14% of our budget, but everything else, it's, you know, really can't be sure of it from year to year, but yet there's a remarkable consistency. What we end up doing is being conservative on the income that's coming in, and generally we end up in the last couple of years always getting in more. I mean, the last couple of years we've had 2 years ago we had CARES Act money and some bequests that came in. Last year we had rescue plan money that came in, and another large donation. So while I had anticipated running a deficit this year, we ended up running a surplus. Instead of a deficit of 44,000, which would have used up some of the previous, if you look at the bottom of the second page, instead of running a deficit of 44,000, which would have used up some of the excess revenue over expenditures of 218,000, we ended up running a surplus of 73,000. This next year, I'm projecting that we might run a deficit of 38,000, which again would use some of the surplus from either this year or the previous year, and we'll end up seeing what it actually ends up being. But we're fortunate, we're in a good position as far as the station goes, and if there's any specific questions about any of the line items, I'd be glad to answer them.
Part of that surplus because we haven't incurred all the generator expense yet.
Right, some of the surplus is no generator expense. We'll talk about that later. Some of the surpluses we haven't spent in this fiscal year, nor do actually. We might end up spending in. We will actually that the surplus will be down an extra. Will be reduced potentially $20,000 with the work being done on Mount Kisco this month, which will be included in this fiscal year. So that'll be down. Still, it's we'll have this year will been generating plenty of surplus, plenty of excess revenue over expenses.
Any concerns?
Asking me or anybody else?
General, everybody?
Oh, nothing from me.
Let me, I should know as we've had these discussions, but Kurt, it seems that the shorter fund drives are working fairly well. Is that going to be the format going forward? Are we going to continue? Does that seem, because they seem to be, we're pretty close to target. It's certainly a lot better for us broadcasters and people, we come into, there's a lot less time we have to spend, and even, taking up an entire program where you lose an entire program because it's a fund drive. I'm impressed. I like the new format, of course, and Rose and I have talked about it on Tuesdays. But you're pretty comfortable with this going forward?
Yes, tentatively for the next cycle, for the next fiscal year, we'll do 4 days in October, 4 days in January, 3 days in April. And in the last couple of years, we've done a 1 day in early December. But this last year we pivoted, and we didn't do another weekend. With the shorter drives missing a lot of weekdays, we actually did Giving Tuesday this last year. And we're planning on doing the Giving Tuesday this coming year. Giving Tuesday is the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving. They've got they used to have like Black Friday, and then a Monday shopping local, and then a national organization said, well, all this money is going to buy stuff. We need to help people. Let's come up with a National Giving Tuesday, which is the first Tuesday after Thanksgiving. So we'll do a 1 day drive next November 29th. So yes, we will do the shorter ones. And I think it's certainly better for the listeners. That we're planning on continuing that.
It's great. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Well,
there was
terrific.
one instance where we changed our pattern because of the pandemic. We canceled the April drive 2 years ago, and we did a 1 day drive on, the organization that promotes Giving Tuesdays, because there were so many charities in trouble, they added an extra Giving Day, and we did a 1 day drive in, I think it was early May of the beginning of the pandemic, and we raised 1/3 of our normal 7.5 day drive in 1 day. So then we pivoted, and it's interesting how a lot of people had to change how they do things because of the pandemic. We did too, and in this case, it's been working out for the better.
Yeah, good.
Nice. Okay, who'd like to make a motion to accept the proposed budget as presented?
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the budget as presented.
Fred Velarde, I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The proposed budget accepted as presented.
Great. It'll go next to the town council, and after that, the Board of Finance.
Great. Moving on to the 40th anniversary.
Yes, we'll be having an open house on Sunday, June 12th from 1 to 4 p.m. You're all invited if you to come. And sometimes I can't believe it's been 40 years, and sometimes it feels like 40 years. But it'll be a great way to, we also, besides having the in-person event, we'll also, one of our volunteers who's done videos for us before, and they've done videos professionally, they'll do a 40th anniversary video that could be posted on YouTube so that um, so that people who can't make it here are able to do so.
Very nice. So the open house is at the studio?
Sunday, June 12th at our studios here at 731 Main Street.
Is there a time?
1 o'clock to 4 o'clock.
Great. Thank you. Moving on to the translator, the FCC station and translator license renewals.
Yes. So the WMNR has the Connecticut stations and translators, and we have some New York State translators. They function on different renewal cycles. The Connecticut stations and translators, the license is expired. The normal cycle ends on March 30th. They were renewed after April 1. So then we're just waiting on the New York State translators. Their 8-year authorization period ends on May 30th, and the new one will begin June 1. We'll get notice a couple of days after June 1 about that. There is a slight complication because of the Mount Kisco translator being off the air, and I'll be talking about that next at E. They won't grant the renewal of the Mount Kisco authorization until it returns to the airwaves. But that's anticipated, so I think it'll go through. It won't be a problem. Moving on to section E, the Mount Kisco translator. So the FCC requires a station or a translator, AM or FM, it doesn't care. TV, it doesn't care. It can't be silent for more than a year, or the authorization is withdrawn. And the only exception are very few circumstances that are 100% out of your control. The Mount Kisco translator went off the air in May 2 years ago. Last year, we turned it back on for 4 or 5 days using batteries. The FCC accepted that, reset the clock, the 1-year clock. It went off the air, and then we told them, we went on back on the air, we told them, then it went off the air, we told them it's off the air again, requested special temporary authority to be off the air. They granted it. So right now, the town did sign a lease with the Crown Castle to go to a cell tower in right off the Merritt Turnpike, by a couple hundred feet. Train tracks are very close as well. They signed that on April 1, early April, first week of April. It goes into effect May 1. And I do have the tower riggers, the guys that'll go up 100 feet up, 30 feet up in the air and install our antenna. They've got it scheduled for next week. I've also got an electrician lined up and approved, and I'm not sure when they'll do their work, but what we'll do is we'll be able to take, with the antenna up, we'll be able to bring out the same $1,800 worth of batteries that we used once before. We'll use them again, turn it back on the air for 4 or 5 days, and get the station back on the air before the May 30th deadline. It'll only be on 4 or 5 days. The batteries will run out. We'll explain to them, we have a contract. We're operating from the new site. We're waiting for electrical permits to get the electricity going. This is what we could do with batteries. Also, just for the record, because at the new location down in the valley, we can't pick up 88.1. To get it on the air before the 1-year period of silent period is up, we will be temporarily rebroadcasting another public radio station for about the 5 days. I've gotten written permission from them. I did this trick once before years ago when I had to build something and get it on the air with some signal or lose it. So it'll be on the air for 4 or 5 days. It'll go off the air, and then we should have it on permanently with WMNR by mid to late June. But making sure everything gets done properly, and we'll be able to get the translator. And when we do get it back on the air, then we'll do emails and mailings to let everybody know in the Mount Kisco area about that.
Excellent.
I will mention for the record, if I haven't before, as soon as we get it back on, I'm going to instantly start working to, we have a 5-year lease. I'm going to instantly start working to move it to a different location. I talked to a previous executive director of the Caramore Music and Arts Center in Katona about moving it to their location. They were interested. They would just have to clear it through zoning. They're in this wonderful estate from the 1920s. It's a grandfathered, what's it called? Non-conforming zoning use. It was there before zoning was. And so to add our little antenna and that use, they'll just need to get approvals, but we'll have 5 years to get it approved and then to be able to move to that site. I want to move to that site because it'll be cheaper to operate it. And I'm hoping both in terms of rent and in terms of, we won't need internet to pick up a signal. You can pick up our 88.1 fine from up on the higher hill. We do broadcast concerts from the Caramore Music Festival. We have a good partnership with them. I think they'll work with us.
And you feel like that contract that you would have with them would be safe for a long period of time?
Yes, I think I would. They will end up having to do an official lease with them. They're not going to let us use the site for free, but it'll be less money than what we're going to be paying at Crown Castle, with less of an escalator, et cetera, that kind of a thing. Crown Castle is a huge company that always needs to make more money to pay off its debt because it acquires more and more things. It recently picked up a national fiber company. So it doesn't have just towers, it has fiber as well. You know how these things go. Whereas Caramore, they're a nonprofit. We're in the similar business. We help promote them in ways that other radio stations aren't. So that's worth some money. They'll like that.
Sounds promising.
Won't be a high power signal at their location. Will be 9 watts at the new site. We were 38 at the old site. It'll be 10 watts in Caramore, but it'll should work out well enough. Yeah.
Okay, great. Moving on to new business. The long saga of the generator.
That's right.
So I guess I could look at the last minutes to see, but I think I have some new information since the last minutes. Yes, right. Monroe Electric declined to do any work on installing it. They don't have the time or the manpower to deal with it, and it was a little difficult because they got to move a few things that's near the electrical panels now to make room for a second automatic or transfer switch. We'll get a manual transfer switch. I've gotten permission from Public Works at the town to try to see if someone other than Monroe Electric is interested. There's somebody in Newtown I'm going to try who's done work for us before when we moved in here. They're a larger company, and hopefully we'll be able to tackle it. Meanwhile, the generator's in storage and at the moving company, and we're paying
Or a very small amount.
$1 a square foot per month. The thing takes up maybe 8 square feet, They're paying $8 a month in rent and storage fees. So,
Very reasonable.
yeah, very reasonable.
Excellent. Moving on to public participation.
John's not here.
Yes. No Carol and John tonight, so. Rose, I guess would you be considered under the public participation? Anything else you want to add?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, I guess that wraps things up. Are you ready to adjourn?
Sure. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
That was a new indoor record, I think. Mike.
Right?
I guess
7:30.
if there's no other issues that we need to put on the table.
So Patty made a motion. You're going to second it?
Yeah, I second it if there's no other issues.
Okay, I guess that wraps it up for at 7:31 I've got.
Wow.
Okay.